Yeah, that's the olalo no ea he ali'i ka ʻāina he kaua ke kanaka. I think that means that, our ʻāina is our source of life, like water, food. Everything we do revolves around ʻāina, right? Like your clothes. It's all related. It all comes from ʻāina. So that's why people need to understand these things. It doesn't just appear in a grocery store. And so to me personally, that means, it's about reciprocity. It's about how do I know a place so well and love a place so much that I am an active participant in its health and well-being. Because to me, the health of ʻāina is synonymous with the health of people. And you cannot remove people from that equation. Like, people are such a vital part of ʻāina. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, if people didn't exist, the world would be more sustainable and more this. I was like, no, people are actually a key part of stewarding land. It's just how you do it, I think, is what matters.
Nearly 90% of Hawaii's food arrives on cargo ships through Honolulu Harbor. Every week, massive container ships bring in produce, meats, grains, and everyday essentials from thousands of miles away. But what if they stopped coming? This isn't just a hypothetical question. When the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted global shipping, Hawaii faced delayed food shipments and supply shortages. A single natural disaster, port strike, or fuel crisis could cut off essential supplies for weeks. This extreme dependence on imports makes Hawaii one of the most food insecure states in the US. But it wasn't always this way. Before Western contact, Native Hawaiians cultivated a thriving, self-sufficient food system using the ahupua'a land division system. Each ahupua'a extended from the mountain to the sea, ensuring communities had access to fresh water, fertile land, and marine resources. Farmers grew staple crops like kalo and uala, while local ia, Hawaiian fish ponds, provided abundant fish. The system balanced food production with environmental sustainability, feeding an estimated 1 million people without imports. Over time, plantation agriculture shifted from feeding the islands to exporting cash crops like sugar and pineapple. As these industries declined, farmland was abandoned or developed for urban use. Today, less than 15% of the food we eat is grown locally. Because nearly all of our food arrives by ship or plane, Hawaii has some of the highest grocery prices in the nation. For many families, eating healthy, fresh food can be out of reach, not because it's unavailable, but because it's unaffordable. Our reliance on imports doesn't just make Hawaii vulnerable to supply disruptions, it also shapes the way we think about food. For decades, policies and economic structures have favored large-scale imports over local agriculture, leaving many of Hawaii's farms underfunded, underutilized, and disconnected from consumers. Between 2017 and 2022, Hawaii lost over 82,000 acres of farmland, nearly the size of Lanai. More than 700 farms shut down, with small farms hit hardest. As farmland disappears, so does our ability to produce our own food. However, many are pushing for change.
Okay, well, as the executive director, all I think about is money, because I think the misconception is that nonprofits we do this as volunteers, and some nonprofits do, but all of our team is staff, they all get paid. And so my biggest thing is finances. And so really thinking about making sure we can operate financially to support our operations. So I think the biggest challenge that any nonprofit deals with is sustainable funding to sustain your operations. I think the second one we deal with a lot is wildfires. So we have fires in the back of the farm. We are on the dry side of the island. I've only been here not even 2 years, and I've seen 4 fires already right in the back of our farm. Invasive species, that's a huge one. So all our coconut trees gone, all our lo'ulu gone because of coconut rhinoceros beetle. But we have other invasive species as well, like bunchy top virus for bananas. So invasive species is a huge one as well. Theft is another one. A lot of farms deal with egg theft, and we are not unique to that. Things get stolen, and that's just part of the deal. So yeah, I would say those are the biggest challenges I see. I never understood why so little investment is put into conserving Hawaii's natural and cultural resources when this is why tourists come to Hawaii, right? So help with infrastructure, help with salaries, like for state folks. Charge that green fee, like, let's get that through the ledge. Because it sounds like people, like they did a poll and people are happy to pay that, right? And that would support everybody. And then we would get the right visitors coming to Hawaii.
Bridging the gap between farms and restaurants is one way to make Hawaii more food secure. Some policies aim to encourage farm-to-table partnerships, while others focus on expanding distribution networks to make local food more accessible. For many local restaurants, sourcing food from Hawaii's farmers is about more than just fresh ingredients. It's also about strengthening the island's food security. But navigating costs, supply, and availability isn't always easy.
That's kind of a tough one. That's something when we opened this restaurant that we were hoping to do a lot more of. It's hard because they don't have the volume. We go through 1,000 pounds of avocados a week. They just can't supply that. So it's really tough, and it's something that we want to promote, and we're trying to. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we have our inventory to be able to service our customers. So trying to buy local from a vendor that can do 50 pounds or 100 pounds is impossible.
While policy and infrastructure are crucial, the heart of Hawaii's future in food lies with its people. Community events like Kalo Fest highlight the power of collective celebration around local food traditions.
So I don't think the answer personally to food sustainability is more production of food. I think it's more like, let's teach every household how to maybe sustain their own food. And if you're like me, I don't even have a yard. And so we used to do workshops on like container gardening. But that's why we also have our U-Pick, because the number one answer I see on why people don't grow their own food is they don't have a space to grow their own food. So community gardens, I think, is important. Like spaces that are accessible to folks to grow food if they don't necessarily have that space at home. But I think some people are so caught up on like, oh, we gotta feed the world. I was like, no, focus on feeding your neighbors first. Have it be very place-based. Like, focus on feeding our community first. And if every community do that, then we would feed the entire island, and then we would feed the entire world. But everyone is like thinking very like this, always having to scale things up. I was like, things should be happening on a community scale. So if you go to a grocery store, like, you have power with your purchase. And even if it feels small, like, support the local farmer as best as you can. I know maybe perhaps it comes from a place of privilege because not everyone can afford to buy organic or local food. But go support the local farmers markets. There's so many amazing programs like SNAP EBT at Makeke Waianae. You can use your EBT to buy fresh local produce. And a lot of farmers markets do that now. So my number one thing is, you have power with your money, and even if it's just a little bit, but try to keep that money locally by supporting local farmers and local organizations who do food systems work, because every bit helps.
In the face of Hawaii's reliance on imports and the uncertainty of global supply chains, agriculture becomes more than just growing food. It becomes a way to reconnect to the land, to each other, and to the knowledge passed down through generations. Whether it's through policy, community programs, or a single restaurant sourcing locally, every action helps build a more resilient future.
Keep country, you and